I'll move on to my second question then. If you were selected for this position, how accessible would you be to the council, the mayor, and the public?
Very accessible. I believe that that's part of the mission of the chief of police, being accessible to the public, the elected officials, and to the officers. I mean, that's your main function.
That's all I have.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes to close. Say whatever you like to say.
I just want to ask the council, Mayor, what are you looking for from your police chief? Currently, what would you like to see in the police chief? Is that a fair question?
Yes, it is. A chief with great integrity, outstanding managerial skills, PR skills, public relations skills, organizational skills, and a team leader and a morale builder.
Well, I believe that I fit all that category, and I'm offering that experience and that integrity and that education and the ability to get out there and communicate with the public and be that team builder. I feel that I would be a good fit for you, and looking forward to working with you and the citizen.
Thank you so much for applying for this position and taking time to interview for this position, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll take a 5-minute break.
You know me, I know you, and that's it.
Chief McQueen, you was elected chief of police for the city of Columbus. What would be your top 3 priorities as far as changes that you would make within the police department?
My first 3 priorities would be related to accountability, integrity, and dependability. So I would ensure that whatever changes needed to be made, and I don't want to address those changes here openly because it would get into personnel issues, but I would make the necessary changes to ensure that our department was operating efficiently and effectively.
As an individual leader, what do you consider your major strength, and what do you consider some of your weaknesses as a leader?
Yes, sir. As a leader, my strengths are having risen through the ranks within the Columbus Police Department, having worked with and headed every division within the Columbus Police Department, with the exception of the Narcotics Division, which I've been actively participating in. Having served under 7 different chiefs, I've had occasion to watch their different leadership styles. I've taken the best of the best. I've adopted what worked for those 7 chiefs. I've incorporated those things into my leadership styles in terms of my weaknesses. And I'll be totally honest with you, I don't know when to quit. I don't know when to go home. When something happens, I stay out there and I stay out there and I stay out there, and every now and again, you've got to go home and you've got to get rest in order to come back with a fresh mind and to stay focused on these investigations.
If elected chief, what would be one of the major problems that you would have to deal with within the police department?
Is garnering the respect of the community, as well as ensuring that the community respects the Columbus Police Department.
How familiar are you with budgets?
Very familiar. I've taken the liberty, if you will, of going personally and sitting with Mr. Mike Burnson to cover the Columbus Police Department's budget. But in addition to that, I am familiar with budgeting from a personal aspect. I've never had occasion to have to file bankruptcy. I pay my bills on time, and I don't go out and buy things that I can't pay for.
As interim chief, what have you done to deter crime within the city of Columbus?
Many things. We formed new neighborhood watch programs. I personally have done what is known as directed patrol. When we have areas that we're not having a lot of crime in, then I've had occasion to redirect our resources in the areas where we're having crime issues. Those are the main two things that come to mind.
What civic organizations or community programs have you worked with as interim chief, before you became interim chief?
I'm very active in church activities. I've had occasion, you said since I've become, or beforehand.
Yeah, and since you have been interim chief.
I've been in Boy Scouts, third degree Mason, and very active in again, church activities.
Councilman Taylor?
Chief, how would you describe your management style?
My style from day-to-day operations is democratic because I believe in the buy-in from the men and women of the Columbus Police Department. You're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with.
Tell me, Chief, what would you assure the stakeholders in this city that you're the best chief for this position?
My assurances comes through a visualization that I have been here within this community. Again, for nearly 24 years, I've worked the worst of the worst cases that Columbus has had to offer, and I've given my all.
Accountability, Chief. What accountability do you bring to the police department?
I believe in integrity. Integrity starts at the head of any organization. And I've oftentimes heard my grandfather say that a fish rots from the head to the tail. So in terms of accountability, you give an individual or you assign an individual a task, you loosen the reins, you allow that individual to go out and to do the job, and if they don't do the job, then you hold them accountable.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilman Mickens?
Good evening, Chief. How you doing?
Just fine, sir. And yourself?
Chief, my first question is, if elected, how long do you plan on remaining in this position?
Councilman, I plan to be here as long as I'm being productive and my health doesn't fail. I have no plans to leave.
Okay. Do you have a plan for your leadership team, for as your assistant chief, deputy chief, or your captain? Do you have a plan that you can implement and put in place as of now?
Yes, sir. Right now we only have an assistant chief and a captain, but I do have a vision and goals for the Columbus Police Department. Yes, sir.
Okay. Last question, Chief. If you are selected as the police chief here in the city of Columbus, tell me, what would you do your first day on the job?
I'm going to continue what I've already started, Councilman Mickens. I'm going to continue being highly visible. I'm going to, in the community itself, I'm going to continue to be transparent with not only the media, but the citizenry as well. And I plan to have a hard work ethic Not just me, but I mean, I want the entire Columbus Police Department to buy into that concept.
Councilman Bob?
Chief, you've mentioned that you're a hard worker. I've observed that over the last few weeks, that you are a hard worker, and I don't think you know when to go home, because I get emails from you all hours of the day and night, so I'd encourage you to be sure you're getting enough rest. But somewhere around 2005, I'm not sure about the exact date, there was a ISS study done, an independent study of our police department. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Did not present our department in a very good light in a lot of areas. I'd just like to ask you if you consider that one of the main things that jumped out at me in that study was the fact that they said in the study, your peers, that we did not have anyone in our department that was qualified to take over as chief. And two subsequent city council have hired from outside of the city of Columbus. What have we done, what have you done over the last few years since that study to put yourself in a position, and do you think they would say the same thing today about you if that study was repeated today?
No, sir. That study was done over 10 years ago, and insofar as I'm concerned, it's water under the bridge. In terms of what I've done to prepare myself, I've trained, I've studied, and I've trained, and I've studied some more. I'm a self-motivator. I've even taken online training. I think that hopefully you all have had an opportunity to review my file, and you'll notice a lot of the things that you saw within that file were generated by McQueen, not by the agency. It's something that I wanted to do to make myself a better person in a better office.
There's been a lot of negative. One of our candidates today has referred to the negative talk in the blogs and in the media that was some unjustly perhaps that referred to these men, and there's been a lot of rumor and talk also about you, and I gave them an opportunity to respond, and I want to give you an opportunity to respond to something that's going on some of the blogs, and that has to do with the Fresh Hour Crime Stopper case that you're familiar with. I'd just like to know what was your involvement in that, and what are your feelings about that today?
My involvement was zero, and I was cleared by a federal, a state, a county, and a local investigation, and I'll leave it at that.
My second question, what division of the police department is the backbone you would consider to your department?
The patrol division, sir. Yes, sir.
And the third one would be, tell about your, how do you communicate with your subordinate and your supervisor? How well do you think you will be able to communicate with them?
I think I do quite well. Yes, sir.
That's it.
Councilman Kareem?
Mr. McQueen, how you doing this evening?
Just fine, sir. And yourself?
I don't know yet. We're getting ready to find out. Why do you want to be chief of police? I mean, I know it's an increase in pay, but why would you want this job?
The analogy that I'm going to give is that I'll equate it much like a mother to her newborn baby. I just literally, I refuse to allow the citizens of Columbus to fall into hands of people that I don't know. I'll leave it at that people I don't know. I've been here for over 24 years, and I love this city. I feel that I have a rapport with the citizenry of Columbus. I'm raising children here, and I have a property interest vested, is the way I look at it, and that's why I want to be chief.